Hello, everyone. My name is Chung Ta. Welcome you all to this month WhereScape Expert Session. I have a question from the audience today. So the question of this month's expert session is how to implement data transformations prior to data vault model in WhereScape, and what transformations are allowed by Data Vault 2.0. So thank you very much, the audience member that sent this question to us, a combined WhereScape and Data Vault question, which is pretty cool. So first of all, before we get into how to implement data transformations prior to Data Vault model in WhereScape, let's have a quick refresher about transformations in Data Vault in general. Transformations in Data Vault are categorized in two main buckets. There are the hard rules and the soft business rules. And the hard rules are defined as mainly technical logics to align data types or data formats. It is absolutely important that you must not change the data meaning by doing so. A few examples of a hard rule could be casting a text data field to a date or to a timestamp according to the metadata provided by the source. So you may have a source system that would deliver you the data in text format, for example, in CSV or in JSON formats, and you only have a string as the date or the timestamp, and you might want to convert that into the respective the expected data type or the certain format that you would like to see further down the line, starting by going into the data warehouse. Another hard rule that is fairly common is normalization rule to deal with complex data structures. You may also flatten the data, the incoming data, to fit it into relational data formats. And another interesting one that we indeed teach in our boot camps or trainings about Data Vault 2, that has to do with something we call pre-joins. So pre-joins are most commonly used to create link objects when the source data does not hold the actual business key attributes, but rather technical or surrogate key of this object. In that case, you would like to do this so-called pre-join. Basically, you would join a child table with the parent with the master data table, for example, for this object, and using the surrogate key in order to get your hands on the real business key in the master data table. So in contrary to hard rules, we have the soft business rules. These are commonly defined by the business users, applied to data to implement certain business requirements. And these kinds of rules may change the meaning of data, introduce interpretation of the raw data from the business, and change the granularity, the original grain of the source data record. So we do all this effort to produce information to cater to a certain business requirement or a certain business point of view, right? So going back to the initial question, transformations prior to Data Vault model, we do only recommend to do hard rules before the raw vault model. And this shows the main difference between, or one of the differences between Data Vault and traditional data warehouse approaches. For example, the 2 and 3 layer architectures is that Data Vault recommends against applying soft rule in earlier layers to reduce, if not completely remove, load dependencies in layers further downstream in the data warehouse. So when implement data transformations or hard rule in WhereScape, my tip for you is certainly to implement alignment logic or logics that would fix data type or data format in simple SQL operations. So absolutely try to avoid complicated logics. Yeah. And the reason being, rules that are too complex can fail, interrupt, the raw vault loading patterns. And this happening right at the start of the data warehouse loading chain is not optimal. So you can do data type or format alignment in both 3D and red, but we certainly recommend to do this in 3D, so in the model data modeler pod. And you can do this by defining data transformation per attribute. For the other example for pre-join, you may implement also pre-join in WhereScape, especially in 3D, by implementing these in, first of all, the source model and the datable design model. And later I will show then a quick demo on how to do this, specifically for a datable design. But first of all, if you would have to define the primary key and foreign key definition in the source model first, according to the source system, the metadata from the source, right? And then moving on to the datable design, you would add the actual business key to the link object, and the correct join will be generated from the source model, from your definitions in the source model. And another quick tip here, if you absolutely want to implement more complicated rules, then try to outsource these rules to a so-called pre-processing view, so dedicated view on that laid on top of the source table or the staging table, right? And you would perform the data transformations there separately, and then carry on modeling the data vault using these views as the source. So let's move on to a quick demo in 3D. So I can show you then rather quickly how to do these hard rules as discussed in the tool. All right, so now we are in WhereScape 3D. What you are seeing now is the training data sets from Northwind. We have used these data sets multiple times in these webinars or trainings for WhereScape. So what we would like to do to demonstrate hard rule implementation in 3D is we are going to take a look at this table employee that has a birth date that is, let's say, unfortunately, or stored in date time type. We would like to see only the dates, right? And then later, for an example for a pre-join, we would like to take a look at the table orders, which has a foreign key to the table shippers. The foreign key is called ship via, which is then joined to shippers by this shipper ID. And we would like to, just an example, make the company name the business key. And we would like to have, we would like to create a link, orders out of this table that would have a hub reference then to the company name of the shipper. So already in the source model, you already see that we could import the foreign key relationships from the source database, which is a good thing. If that is not available to you, you will have to create them manually by simply drag and dropping, the foreign key to the respective primary key of the referenced table. But we don't have to do that here, fortunately. Then we can move on to the data vault design. So let's start with a hard rule implementation in an attribute to change the data type or the data format of an attribute. I already did it for you. I'm just gonna show you the solution. So birth date of the logical hub employee. If you click on this attribute and go to the tab data transformations, what I have already done is a transformation that would cast this birth date attribute to date. Remember to set a source set here or the source mapping. In this case, I only want to do this transformation to north wind. Let's say in south wind or in the second source for this table or for this object, we don't need this cast. This is just to showcase that the data transformation can also be created or defined independently by the source system or the source table. The attribute on which the data transformation will be applied is birth date, and you would like to write the SQL operation that would be used then to make this cast operation happen. In here, you would have to make sure that you use the right syntax or the right SQL dialect for your target data platform. And that has been the implementation for a hard rule for an attribute to fix the data format, right? Now, let's come to the second example, which is the pre-join implementation. In this case, from the table shipper, we said that we would like to make the company name the business key. And the shipper ID, although it's the primary key in the source, that is just a surrogate key, and we would not want to make it the business key for the data vault hub. So what we did for this object is certainly company name is mapped now to business key, and shipper ID is simply going to be mapped as a satellite attribute. And then now comes the implementation of the pre-join in the link. Now we have the link customer order here that stems from the table orders. As you can see, customer ID, employee ID, order ID all stem from the table orders. However, customer name is indeed coming from the table shippers. And let me remind you that in the source table orders, you don't have the company name of the shipper. You only have the shipper ID that is named ship via the foreign key, right? So what we would like to do is you would like to create in the source mapping tab, you would like to add a source entity next to the main table orders. You would then add the source entity shipper from your source model, and you would point the company name attribute, which we declared the business key, to the logical link. And then you would have to tag them, all these attributes, as link business keys. And out of that, 3D's model conversion engine would know that it should convert this logical link customer order into a data vault link with 4 individual link hash keys, or sorry, hub references for this link. Cool. Once you've done all that in the data vault design, you will then run the model conversions to generate the physical data vault model, and then the load and staging. I just want to show you the results in the load and staging stage, which looks like so. So next to the data vault model with hub links and satellites, you would also have the data vault stage and the load tables, right? As you can see, there's a link customer order with 4 hub references. And also one of that is the shipper hub hash keys. But if you go to the stage objects, that is preparing the source for preparing the data going into that link, you will see that this stage object selects from the sources, or in this case, the loads objects, orders and shippers of Northwind. And the cool thing about this is the join will be generated later by running the final model conversion. Data warehouse query template will be applied. You can also modify this if you have like an alternative join pattern. But all in all, this join will be generated for you, and it will be sent then to Red when you deploy these models to Red. So basically, we would join the shipper with the order table on the foreign key to the primary key of the reference table, right? And that concludes the demo of this WhereScape Expert session. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and enable notifications. You can find recordings of past expert sessions by Scalefree on this channel as well. To learn more about solutions like in this session, check out the free Data Vault Handbook by scanning the QR code or following the link. Looking forward to talking to you again soon. Bye-bye.